mob biopic directed by the one and the only Josh Trank. Now, if you don't know who Josh Trank is, I highly recommend you check out a movie called Chronicle. Chronicle is one of the best found footage movies I've ever seen. It's kind of like a superhero and a supervillain type of story. I also highly recommend that you do not check out the other film that he directed, Fan Stick, aka the Fantastic Four movie from 2015. Stay away from that one. Don't mess with it. Avoid it like COVID, okay? You definitely need to practice some social distancing with this movie, okay? If it comes within 6 feet of you, burn it with fire. Repeatedly. Dragon fire. Use dragon fire. All jokes aside, I don't really blame Josh Trank for whatever went wrong with Fan Stick. We all know that that was a complicated situation and there's plenty of fingers to point blame at. I would assume that most of the people watching this video or who are going to watch this movie know who Al Capone is. Like, you know who Al Capone is, right? Al Capone, Alphonse Capone. He's one of the most notorious and iconic gangsters of our era, of our time. This is a guy that ruled Chicago with an iron fist with his criminal enterprise back in the day. In 1931, Al Capone, he goes to prison for taxes, and then in prison he has a condition, syphilis, I believe it's neurosyphilis, starts to affect him and his way of life, and it really starts to kill him. So the feds are basically like, well, you're gonna die and you're not really a threat to anybody, so why don't you just go to Florida? I mean, Florida is a nice place to die and you have a house there, so yeah, we'll just let you go. This movie chronicles the last year of Al Capone's life, and like I said, you basically get to see Al Capone at his absolute worst, at his lowest, at his weakest. This man is decaying and deteriorating right in front of your eyes, and this movie is kind of about how he and his family members deal with this. This is a movie that definitely has an intriguing concept, an idea that I can get behind, where you're taking this notorious gangster and you're stripping him down to his last few moments, his last year, and you're looking at it from a different angle. I like that idea. Taking this iconic figure and basically just focusing on a specific period in his life and seeing if it can offer any different insights into this man's life. Like, I like that idea. I think you definitely should watch this movie for Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy is one of those actors that everybody likes, but he also picks movies where it's easy to make fun of him. You know what the Tom Hardy mumble is. Don't act like you don't know what it is. It's where Tom Hardy's in a movie, he says stuff and you can't really understand what the hell he be saying. He sounds like he's saying something really interesting, so you're still invested in his performance, but then at the end you're kind of like, yo, what the hell was Tom Hardy talking about? That is on full display in here. This is a suitably over-the-top and fascinating performance by Tom Hardy. He is decaying, he is withering away right in front of your eyes, right in front of his family's eyes. And to watch Tom Hardy basically mumble and grunt and growl and snort and fart and shit his way through this entire movie, and no, I'm not kidding, he shits on himself throughout the entire film. Kind of sad to see, and it's kind of, I don't know, there is something interesting about the way that Tom Hardy commits to this role. If nothing else in this movie, Tom Hardy is somewhat watchable. Linda Velma, who plays his wife in the movie, and I call her Linda Velma because I can't remember her last name, it starts with a C. She was also Hawkeye's wife in the Avengers, but she's Velma to me. She was Velma in the Scooby-Doo movies. I'm calling her Velma. Velma was pretty good in this movie. She gives probably the second best performance of anyone in the cast. I will say that the film is competently shot. It looks good visually. Lighting for this movie was a little bit dim, I'm not gonna lie. It was a little bit dull in some spots, but overall, visually, I don't really have anything to complain about with this movie. Unfortunately, this is one of those movies where it has a great concept and idea on paper, and you're translating it to the screen, the movie just doesn't really do anything that interesting with it. It comes across as more of a slog and a mess rather than a captivating look into this once iconic gangster. Nothing interesting that he's trying to say about Al Capone's life. There's nothing intriguing. Like, sometimes you can sort of get what Josh Trank is going for, and then other times you're kind of like, okay, what the hell are we doing here? Like, what's the point? Okay, I get it. Al Capone, and Tom Hardy's playing the shit out of Al Capone, and Al Capone is dying, and we get to watch him die. Like, why should I care about that? That's kind of my big issue with this movie, is that Josh Trank just doesn't film this movie in a way that gets you to feel invested in anything going on besides, hey, you know, Tom Hardy just shitted on himself for like the 4th time in the last hour. Like, hey, you want to watch Al Capone shit and vomit on himself and basically be a mess for the entire movie? Here you go. This movie feels very aimless. It feels very directionless. There's no real plot here. There's no real story. It's just you get to watch Al Capone die and die and die over and over again over the course of a movie. There are subplots that are thrown into this movie that ultimately feel like dead weight. They feel like filler. They feel like they're kind of pointless. They feel like they don't really go anywhere. It's a movie that's less than an hour and 40 minutes long, and somehow it feels like it's a 3-hour movie. And I was just like, damn, did Scorsese produce this thing? Beyond that, character motivations are unclear and unrefined and ultimately kind of unimportant. Like, there's no sense of urgency with anyone else in this story. I am tempted to rate this movie with like a large fart sound. I'm not going to be that childish. I'm going to give it a rating, but trust me, that was on the table before I shot this video. It's a bad movie with some good things in it. It's more of a guilty pleasure. I'm going to leave this one in Smallville. Guys, those are my thoughts on Capone. So tell me, what is your all-time favorite movie about a mobster or a gangster? Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.